Sutra Karma Law Role. If we want to take on a role in the world, we simply need to start behaving as if it has already happened. Becoming masters of our destiny. If a soldier, in the course of his daily service, behaves as a general would, for instance, by going beyond his responsibilities and taking on more accountability, eventually the world will notice this and help him grow into a general. A woman who carries herself with the dignity of a queen will attract the attention of a king. Through our behavior, we can attract the social role that corresponds with that behavior. Ultimately, human society is formed and organized through the daily practices of the individuals within it. These practices largely boil down to fulfilling certain social functions and following behavioral models. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players, said Shakespeare. In this theater, one can either be content with the role assigned by birth or other determinants beyond one's control, or attempt to change one's fate, break the cycle of predestinations, and become what one desires. In society, a person can occupy any position from the bottom to the very top. Of course, no one wants to be at the bottom, and the desire to climb higher is natural and understandable. Everyone seeks the coveted path, the recipe, or the method to achieve this. Some believe that accumulating wealth is the way. Others are convinced that money is not the key, but rather recognition and respect from others. Still, others think that success can only be achieved by doing good and acting righteously. There are many tools to achieve a goal, but the key is who uses these tools. Boys often play with toy cars and dream of becoming drivers or racers. They pretend to shift gears, press the gas pedal, or brake, honking, and signaling using any available material. A pot lid as a steering wheel, cushions as gas and brake pedals, and so on. In their imagination, they drive real cars, and their movements closely resemble those of a real driver. A child's mind works simply: I want to be equals I am. Play acting is the easiest way for a child to become what they want. So why don't we, as adults, use this same method? Let's set a goal to become different and play the role as if we've already become it. We'll start cultivating new character traits, develop new rules, and learn to react and behave differently. Then, other abilities and skills will awaken within us, which we can further develop and use in life. All we need to do is experiment, immerse ourselves in new states, and explore various experiences, since we have the ability, through our brain, body, and mind, to sense and choose what we want. Of course, playing a role and being the person you play are not the same. But if we live the role we've chosen for ourselves, are consistent, and move forward steadily, we can become who we want to be. There's no need to wait for fate to send a favorable chance. We will choose our path ourselves, demonstrating through our behavior to everyone around who we truly are. Then reality will be forced to accept us as we present ourselves. Bob Dylan has always existed even before I was born. I play this role because, most likely, I'm the best suited for it. Bob Dylan. What, then, is a role? According to psychologist Anne-Marie Rochablave-Spenel, a role is a model of behavior with a specific set of norms, duties, requirements, and actions that a person performs. A role represents an individual's orientation and view of their system of values and position in society. Each of us plays certain roles, and the people around us perceive and respond to us based on that. A role always serves as an expression of identity. Psychologists identify several types of roles. A. The prescribed role. It is characterized by a system of expectations and assumptions from society toward a person occupying a particular status, position. There is also a set of expectations regarding how the person should behave toward people of other statuses. For example, society expects a housewife to care for the children, the home, and the family budget. Most people perceive her in this way. B. The subjective role. This refers to the assumptions and expectations that the role performer personally considers natural for their behavior and status in interactions with others. Sometimes this role is called role perception. The subjective role is filled by the individual based on their view of themselves in a particular context. C. The enacted role. The name speaks for itself. Enactment means the demonstrated, external, behavior of a person in interactions with others. The person performs actions determined by their role. It's clear that actions and words alone are not enough. Our emotions and thoughts must align with the role we've chosen. Information spreads from person to person in the form of wave packets. Therefore, the wave nature of our interactions can be explained by the laws of wave physics. The main consequences stem from the laws of wave propagation and scattering. By emitting waves of confidence and determination, we can communicate our vision of reality to others. And the more confident we are in ourselves, the sooner those around us will believe in it. Finding yourself is much harder than finding a friend or 100 rubles. Arseny Tarkovsky. The well-known German philosopher and sociologist of the late 19th and early 20th century, George Simmel, argued that each person is a participant in many social groups, and in each group, they are not much different from the other members. However, in the aggregate, the social groups to which we belong form a set of social connections that is characteristic, most likely, of only one person. Each individual, by virtue of their qualities, has a certain place in their social environment. This ideally assigned place also exists in reality within the social whole. Just by paying attention to a social group like the family, we immediately become almost unique, despite the fact that in all other social groups, we can easily be replaced whether as employees, voters, or, for example, fans of a sports team. At the same time, Simmel understood that a person is not always ready to accept the place prepared for them in their social environment, or they may not always be allowed to take it. Many times, we can observe the following: although a certain position, family, or other social status clearly makes only one specific person successful and happy, there will always be someone, or perhaps more than one, who thinks they would be more successful in that place. Not everyone is able to fully grasp the specificity of their own role. And so, there arise people who are unsuccessful and dissatisfied with themselves and those around them, disrupting social harmony. Simmel writes, social life, as such, is based on the premise of a fundamental harmony between the individual and the social whole, although this does not at all prevent sharp dissonances in ethical and eudemonic life. Later, Simmel's ideas were further developed by the well-known American philosopher and social psychologist of the early 20th century, George Herbert Mead, the founder of symbolic interactionism. He argued that our social statuses are determined by the unique combination and performance of specific social roles. Among his students was the author of the concept of transactional analysis, Eric Berne, who believed that we all unconsciously play out a life script, usually created spontaneously by our parents. Sarah Bernhardt plays the role of a great actress superbly. Bernard Shaw. Unlike animals, humans possess anticipatory reflection, which provides the ability to foresee and predict the course of events. This feature of the human brain allowed for the development of a qualitatively new way of adapting to various environmental factors, forming more sophisticated adaptive reactions and survival strategies. Through imagination, one form of mental reflection, the human brain is capable of anticipating the future. Based on the positive or negative emotions experienced and the understanding that this is just a fraction of the upcoming pleasure or negative impact, motivation is formed, which determines future behavior. Animals, being less developed than humans, are simply slaves to their visual field. Only humans can go beyond the information they directly perceive. This mechanism of anticipatory reflection of reality, or anticipation, was first described by the physiologist and creator of the theory of functional systems, academician P.K. Anokin of the USSR Academy of Sciences, who called it the action acceptor. In the 1930s, P.K. Anokin, a student of I.P. Pavlov, posed the question, how does an organism, as a system of separate organs, perform its tasks and achieve positive goals for the organism? He proposed his concept, known as the theory of functional systems. Today, according to many physiologists, this is the leading theory explaining the principles of neural regulation and control in living systems. According to this theory, the organism has a control device, what P.K. Anokin called the central architecture, that manages many organs or systems within a given functional system, all working toward a specific, positive adaptive result. Functional systems arise whenever there is a need to accomplish a specific task. In this case, the result is considered the system-forming factor. Be yourself. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Our inner desire to take on a role or place in this world is based on our social needs, which are the system-forming factor. When we begin to act as if this has already happened, our brain starts to develop new programs, compares past experiences with the present, and ultimately generates the most appropriate program for future actions. To become the master of our fate, we must anticipate and act from the perspective of the image and role we want to play in our lives. The new image and corresponding functional system, formed in our minds, influence our subsequent behavior. Throughout life, a person tries on many roles and masks, transforming daily into new images. For example, a loving and caring husband and father at home becomes a strict and demanding boss at work, and in the evening among friends, he is a good and engaging conversationalist. Our roles vary in importance and the duration of their existence. Some we wear for 5 minutes, while others we never take off throughout life. One such lifelong role in Islam is that of a true Muslim believer. Living this role, the believer attains Allah's approval and knows the truth. The role model for Muslims on their life path is the Messenger of Allah, the Prophet Muhammad. The qualities attributed to him, kindness, justice, nobility, virtue, and devotion to the Almighty, are highly valued in Islam. The life, words, and deeds of the Prophet have been thoroughly studied, and Muslims are prescribed to imitate his experience not only in difficult life situations but also in everyday matters. Following this example will allow a Muslim to deepen their faith and immerse themselves in the religious experience of the Prophet. I am both the gardener and the flower. Asip Mandelstam. Islam simultaneously calls on Muslims to stop communicating with those who lead them away from the true religion. Allah forbids you to befriend those who fought against you because of religion and expelled you from your homes and helped in your expulsion. Quran 60:9. Allah provides a person with different opportunities, but the person chooses and assigns what seems right to them. In order not to stray from the chosen path, it is important for a Muslim to fulfill the obligations imposed by their role. This will not only convince the person themselves of the truth of what they are doing but will also instill a new perception of them in others. Those around them, assessing the person in their new role, will change their attitude towards them, in accordance with the role. No one is likely to invite a Muslim woman in a hijab to a bar or a strip club at night. The hijab, as an attribute of her role, obliges her to observe certain boundaries and limits. Among the richness of Christian thought, the following quote illustrates this law well: love, of course, is above all. If you find that you lack love, but desire to have it, then do loving deeds, even if at first without love. The Lord will see your desire and effort and will place love in your heart. God, as the center of the Christian worldview, calls each person to rise to a higher level compared to the role they currently occupy in this world. The ultimate and highest goal of a Christian's destiny is deification, the union of man with God. 2 Peter 1:4. For this reason, God became man so that man might become God, as the great thinker Athanasius of Alexandria, 4th century, said. However, until a person becomes a partaker of the divine nature, they must take Christ, the God-man, as an example, feel how he behaved, and try to emulate him. Imitate me as I imitate Christ, Apostle Paul. Christians seek to be like God, and he tells us, I am the Lord your God, sanctify yourselves and be holy, for I am holy. Leviticus 11:44, be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. Matthew 5:48. In other words, behave as if you are already God's, and by doing so, you will achieve the desired goal of deification. The desire to show off sometimes pushes us to actions nobler than ourselves. Oscar Wilde. According to the Israeli Kabbalist, founder, and head of the International Kabbalah Academy Bnei Barak, Michael Lettman, social roles are essential for maintaining social peace and coordinating the actions of individuals. Social roles can even be observed in a wolf pack. The nature of relationships in a pack is altruistic, writes M. Lettman. Each animal subordinates its personal interests to the interests of the whole collective. Without such relationships, the pack cannot exist as a single organism. The rank of an animal depends on the development of its psyche, not just its physical abilities. As is known, it's not the strongest who survive, but the smartest. The leader must organize the hunt. Wolves hunt in groups, requiring good coordination, and make decisions about how to divide the catch. Therefore, peace and calm reign in the pack. The younger wolves listen to the older ones and feel absolutely protected, while the older ones bear the burden of responsibility for all. It is important to perform a role that not only benefits the individual but also brings the greatest benefit to the community. The most conservative approach to choosing a person's social role in society is held by representatives of Hinduism. It is known that transitioning from one group to another in traditional Indian society was difficult. However, for a devout Hindu, the doors to the higher castes or varnas were not completely closed. The opportunity remained. After all, a person's varna depends primarily on the soul's accumulated experience, on the stage of evolution passed in previous incarnations. The very word varna translates as color and originally referred to the color of a person's aura or energetic body, by which the soul's main aspirations could be determined upon entering this world. The Brahmin is seen as a being of white color, the Kshatriya of red color, the Vaishya of yellow color, the Shudra of black color. Vajrasuchika Upanishad. A bad soldier is one who doesn't want to become a general. First, a person plays the role, and then the role plays the person. Vladimir Levi. In Vedic society, Varna was not originally determined by one's parents. A newborn would be brought to a Brahmin, who, possessing subtle vision, would look at the color of the aura, assess the soul's level of development, and conclude what lessons it needed to learn and within which Varna this person should seek their place in life. If not immediately, then in another incarnation, a person could be born as whom they deserve to be according to the quality of their past lives. All people, without exception, play various roles in society, which are determined by behavior models, interaction processes with others, and mutual perceptions. "Pretend to be a genius, and you'll become one," said one of the most extravagant artists of the 20th century, Salvador Dalí. In 1929, 25-year-old Catalonian Salvador Dalí came to Paris with Louis Buñuel and was introduced to the Surrealist circle by Joan Miró. Young Dalí was inspired by the ideas of irrational, intuitive, and paranoid art, and through his surrealist creations, he declared an aggressive penetration into the unconscious. His partnership with his lifelong muse, Gala, also proved to be very successful. She supported his image as a mad genius and negotiated with dealers and galleries, driving up the prices of his works. Dalí became the first large-scale and prominent representative of modernist kitsch, a popular variant of intellectual art. He was destined for success, and the role of genius was played masterfully. Roles come into play only during interactions with others. They serve as a way of transmitting our character, temperament, and position in society. Since many roles are clearly defined in society, the system of assumptions and expectations towards the person playing that role is quite predictable. With this in mind, we can effectively approach the choice of our role, one we will enjoy playing. People around us, seeing our behavior and reactions that logically fit into this role, will naturally begin to perceive us as individuals holding a certain position. If the values, behavior, and expectations associated with this role align with the structure of our personality, we will be able to influence our relationships with others and the world around us. What is permitted to Jupiter is not permitted to a bull. At someone else's feast, the hangover is worse. The roles we play carry our hopes, desires, and needs. If we allow society to perceive us as we wish and show people our position, real changes will follow.